Soul Brokerage, or I'm Not a Good Person, written by BearfangTheGamer. To start out, I'm a human, a mortal, flesh and blood man just like you. This is mostly important because people have the idea of red-eyed figures at crossroads that you summon up with grave dust when you say you buy souls. That process is outdated. In the same way that we don't convert money to gold and transfer it by stagecoach anymore. Modern problems require modern solutions and all that. How I got into this business is the same way most of my coworkers did, as the side effect of a joke. In my case, I watched an episode of The Simpsons' Treehouse of Horrors when I was in the 7th grade. The short of the episode was that Bart sold his soul on a scrap of paper, and Halloween hijinks ensue. Pretty basic stuff, really more spooky than horror. The next day, I decided to emulate what I saw on TV. I got a few quarters, some snack cakes, a bag of chips, and at lunch I took out a notebook. Anyone who wanted could get a bag of chips, a snack cake, or a quarter to buy chocolate milk. All they had to do was consent to sell their soul. They just wrote their name's soul down and signed it, and then dated it. Simple stuff, really. I got called into the office and was told to knock it off, mostly because sharing snacks from home was forbidden. Allergy worries and all that. The school just didn't want to be responsible for Billy killing himself with a nutty bar. I had a little over a dozen names in the book. Time went on and I forgot all about the stupid game I had played that day, like kids do. The notebook got filled up with class notes, stupid drawings, and more Pokemon information than a human could reasonably need. It went on a shelf stuck between a math textbook and a copy of Dragonlance. I got to high school, and I was kind of a geek if Dragonlance didn't tip you off. And I didn't do great with girls. I was your typical long-haired skinny kid with copies of Tolkien books and PC Gamer as my constant companions in class. This is where things start to get messed up. Everything up to this point sounds like it could be the story of any geeky kid in the 90s and early aughts. I spent too much time on AIM, or AOL Instant Messenger for you younger listeners. It was kind of like Facebook Messenger and Reddit combined. It had private text chats between users as well as public chat rooms based around things like age, topics of interest, etc. I was in one of my favorite channels that typically focused on emulation and ROM hacking when the conversation turned to girls. Unsurprisingly, the kind of guys that spent their Saturday nights in ROM hacking chat rooms in that era tended towards awkward nerds. But there was nowhere near the toxicity of today. We mostly shared our sorrow and discussed what it would be like to have a girlfriend. Or occasionally we would claim that we were actually dashing international CIA agents / playboys. It was on this particular night that I got a message from a user called Nightshade X. Now, don't judge, we all used to have edgy handles back then. I'll recreate the chat the best I can below. My username was IOvatari2600 for reference. AIM is long gone, so I don't mind this old username being out there. Here's how the conversation went. Nightshade X wrote, "Hey man, I saw you were single." I wrote, "Yeah, but I'm not allowed to date online. Sorry, my parents would kill me." Nightshade X said, No, nothing like that. What if I told you that I could make sure that you had no troubles getting a girl?" I wrote back, just for the low price of my dad's credit card info?" Nightshade X said, "No, just a soul." I said, "My soul?" Nightshade X wrote, "If you want. But my sources say you've already got a couple of high-value souls. Why not just cash one of them in?" I wrote, "What do you mean?" And Nightshade X wrote, Well, according to our records, 3 years ago you took possession of 8 souls via signed note. Sadly, we've had to invalidate some of your deals due to the signatory being under the age of 12. I wrote back, haha, I remember that. Is this Mike on an alt? Nightshade X said, no, I'm just a soul broker. I'm offering you 100% guaranteed romance. Nothing lasts forever, but you'll have far more success than failure. Not drugs or a hooker or anything like that. This will change how you seem to others. It will not force others into anything. We do have ethics after all. I wrote back, okay, sure, why not? Do you care which soul? Nightshade X said, Zach McCrae, 1-year term. I wrote back, 1-year term. Nightshade X said, take it or leave it. I said, sure, why not? Then the system said, Nightshade X is away from the keyboard. I forgot all about it. I figured that I'd been trolled by one of my geek friends that had known me a while. And I went to bed, meaning to ask them about it. I'm sure that you can guess what happened next. It wasn't anything world-shaking. That isn't how these deals work. Just my hair seemed less greasy. My skin cleared up. My parents' insurance suddenly added contact coverage to the plan. And then my younger brother got gum in my hair, so it had to be cut to a more fashionable length. Before long, I was dating a nice, average girl. She liked anime and fantasy novels. We kissed in the woods. It was a normal high school romance, harmless and fun. 1 year to the day. I got to school and everyone was being gathered in the lunchroom. We were a smaller school in a small town, so even with all 4 years in the lunchroom, it wasn't packed. Around 7:45 a.m., the junior dean made an announcement. Zach McCrae, who was running for homecoming court, was killed in a freak accident in the early hours of the morning. We came to find out that he tripped over his own shoes while coming down some steps and he broke his neck. At first, I was in denial. Bigger coincidences have happened after all. Correlation is not causation and all of that. I had just about gotten myself to believe that too. And then my girlfriend came over that day. She was playing Final Fantasy on my PlayStation and wanted to level up. I settled down on the crappy laptop that I had gotten from my dad and I booted up AIM. And I got ready to download some MP3s from LimeWire. Remember that? I heard a chime indicating a private message. It was from Nightshade X. It read, "Transfer complete. Feel free to reach out if you'd like to do more business." I hesitated, still not really buying it. Almost on their own, my fingers typed out, "What else you got?" Through the rest of high school, I picked up souls. I always did it with a laugh and a smirk as they signed. We all knew that it was just a joke after all. I traded people Chinese food, Magic the Gathering cards, you name it. My girlfriend didn't last, but I got another one in short order, as promised. I never felt like a murderer, even when people died. People die every day. At worst, I was a huckster, a snake oil salesman, right? When I finished college, I was invited onto the exchange. Now, the exchange is complicated, but basically, you trade less valuable souls for more valuable ones by trading in bulk. 200 junkies might get you a doctor. 10 doctors might net you a potential saint, things like that. Not every soul led to the death of the person with the soul either. Some people got generous terms, even natural lifespan contracts. They were fine until the afterlife. But I try not to think about that. Let me lay out a sample exchange transaction for you. We have a doctor, right? Someone close to him is sick and he can't help them. He'd give anything to save them. His name appears on the exchange. So I, or someone like me, decides that the doctor is worth it to them. Now, curing a terminal illness doesn't come cheap. We're going to have to buy that, so we put up 7 average souls. Those are held pending the deal. If it doesn't go through, those 7 are credited back to us. We approach the doctor. Some of the more supernatural brokers do things like raise from the floor in a flame, or they come to a client in a dream. I typically send the text message letting them know that I heard about their problem and let them know that I want to help, if I can. Assuming the client is interested, we meet up. I like to meet at the Cheesecake Factory. I figure that if they can handle the decor in the Cheesecake Factory, then hell shouldn't be that much worse. I even pay for anything that they want off the menu. Let me tell you, those cakes are sinful. We negotiate. A shorter term is better for me, but I'm a softie. I don't like to ask for 1 or 2 year terms. I open at 5 years and we go from there. I'm alright giving a guy his normal lifespan most of the time. Us mortal brokers have that edge. We don't actually need the souls in and of themselves. It's kind of like how you aren't going to do anything with an actual physical dollar bill. It's all about what you can buy with it. Anyways, the reason I'm writing this is because I got word that the head of the exchange wants a meeting with me. My numbers are some of the highest they've seen in years. There are all kinds of rumors on what can happen when you get called downstairs, but it's pretty much the big score. Some say you get 1 wish, anything that you want. Some say that you get to work side by side with the boss on the back end of the exchange. Some people even say that you become something other and you live forever. So, here we are. I have a few hours left before the meeting, so this might be your last chance. If you need anything, email me at You aren't using your soul. Hell, you probably don't even think that you have one, right? That lotto isn't going to win itself. I'm always happy to make you happy. Isn't that what being a good person is all about?